Yeah, so it was really weird. I mean, I woke up a couple of times too and got back into it. And man, it just kept going. I was in the same sequence, not like over and over, but throughout this weird technology thing. Um, if you hear any clipping, it's because I'm clipping my nails while I'm talking. I'm going to try my best to um, explain what happened in this dream. It's going to be a little bit difficult because I didn't get myself to record it. Like, I should be in bed right now recording, you know what I mean? Because then I could have been, like, kept my eyes closed and try to describe what was going on. And it usually works for me, because I always have these super vivid dreams. So I'd like to start doing that more. Anyway, rambling again. It's going to be all over the place how I describe this, so maybe I'll try to explain it again another time, but I'm going to try my best right now. So, somehow, I think it was me that was there, and then, well, I know that it was me that was there, and then there were just other random people. It was not anybody that I know this time. But for some reason, people here and there would start to say, like, in the world, like when the virus started or when the AI stuff started, people started to say, like, that they were from an alternate reality. And how could anybody prove that? How could anybody it just sounds silly, you know? But so many people kept saying it. At first it was just like it's a normal thing you'd hear regularly, but everybody was just pretty much ignoring it. But so then in the dream, I interacted with somebody that was supposedly like that, and they explained to me how it worked. And essentially, what would happen is in that other reality, they had invented a way in which through dreams that people could take over a host body for whatever allotted time, and they would take over a host body in a different dimension, like the partner dimension, which is the one that I was in, and would take it over, but they would know, like, everything that person knows. They would have all their memories, how they function, their behaviors, emotions, and everything. And then they would also somewhat still have their own, like, alternate dimension brain. And it was the same. They were humans too. But their thing was, like, more focused on dreams and dimensions, while meanwhile our dimension was more focused on viruses and an AI. And so in this, they were talking to me, and I'm like, you know what, I've seen a ton of different movies and stuff. I'm just thinking maybe they're right. I don't know. Why are so many people saying that? Why would they go through the trouble of explaining everything? And how would they have the reason why, like, I even like decided to have this conversation was because they took over a host body of someone that I knew or interacted with or something. And they were still telling me everything about them, but then they had, like, this knowledge of things that didn't really make any sense to me. And of course it's my dream, so I'm not trying to be like main character or anything right now, but in the dream, of course, maybe I'm the main character, you know. So I was like, okay, well then what happens when you're done with your allotted time here? They're like, yeah, our consciousness just goes back into, it was their consciousness and emotions is what they described it like. I'm having a really hard time describing this. I know I'm talking a lot. but that's okay. So consciousness and emotions would go back to their normal body in their dimension. And I'm like, how is that recorded in ours? And they're like, it's not at all. They're like, you don't know enough about consciousness to like be able to make this stuff happen. And they're like, your AI in the future, because we've been paying attention to that, will probably solve it for you. And they're like, they might even solve their own consciousness before the humans in your plane figure it out. And but then, so I woke up at a certain point. I don't remember the exact timeline of everything, okay? But woke up, went back to sleep multiple times. This doesn't really happen that often anymore with my insomnia because of my antidepressant, but here and there sometimes it happens with dreams, especially if I want to sleep longer, you know? So there was a certain point, man, the dream was so cool. I wish I just had the words to describe what was going on. I just don't. There was a certain point where people were wanting to go to that dimension, and it was becoming like, at least with the people that I knew, not like in the news or anything, but it was becoming like a thing that would happen. I mean, people who hear about it, they like would have knowledge of things, and it's just like, why do they know this stuff? And then, so at a certain point, somebody took over, and I'm pretty sure it was over my body, if I'm remembering correctly. And so their consciousness was in there with me, but I was still in control. But it was almost like I was mind reading somebody else, and I was able to like see the other dimension and their like memories and things. But they were like talking to me in my own brain, like it was myself talking to me, but it was someone else from the other dimension, right? It's a very, very bizarre feeling. And it was like a sixth sense. Really cool. And they were like, how is this possible? This has never happened before. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even know this was real. And like, this is the way that we're gonna get it. I was like talking to my friends, right? Whoever the heck it was in the dream, people that I knew, and they were believing me. And so then the technology there, what they tried to do through like the connection that they had with me, was they tried to have it set up to where they could like make it to where they could take the host consciousness back with them, because our technology was like nowhere near their technology to where people could like create it here. I don't know exactly why, but it doesn't really matter. And so there was a handful of times where I got dragged back into an alternate reality. Okay, the reality was like the same thing, except every person was different. So like there was no second Trey or like a blonde version of somebody instead of a black hair. It wasn't like that. It was just a completely different reality, and they described it as no humans were the same across both. And so then what they started to do, they tested. So I got dragged back a couple times because I said sure, I was like the guinea pig for it. And then friends wanted to do the same thing. And then when they were there, like when these friends, quote unquote, people that I knew in the dream got dragged back as well, they were like convinced that they could make this technology, or like take the technology information with them, like through attaching an AI from our dimension when they don't have AI in that other dimension. they would like attach an AI, like a very intelligent AI that was like conscious in our reality. So like obviously in the future of right now, attach it kind of like Cortana or something in Halo, right? Okay, so it'd be attached to their brain. They would drag it back after like a person took over their body. They would drag back the person's consciousness from our reality there, and because the AI consciousness was attached to the human one, they brought the AI with them, and they were like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the AI learn this information and we're going to recreate it. But they didn't tell anybody that, right? So they somehow masked and like hid the fact that there was an AI connected to their consciousness, because they were just so involved in the fact that they could drag people back to their reality to experience a different reality like they do, which was also like on a time limit. And also the biggest deal with all of this is the person that was dragged back, after they went back to our dimension, after their allotted time was done, they could not remember being in the other dimension. They got to experience it while it was happening, while they were there, but they never remembered anything about the other dimension. But the same deal happened for the AI. They didn't remember like the features of the other dimension, like what they could sense or emotionally feel, or what mentally like feel, but they could still like take the data that they had, where they were like downloading and grasping all this information about like the technology that they were using in the other dimension to do this, where they took over the host body, but it wasn't like bad because they were still doing everybody's jobs, they were still maintaining their relationships. Nothing was like bad at all. And they had like fail safes where if somebody ever tried to do that, it would boot them out. And when the AI person, like the person that apparently I knew in the dream, took the AI there and dragged it back a few different times, the AI was not able to remember what happened there. Just like the people that got dragged there and came back from our reality could not remember the alternate reality. But the people from the other reality could remember what happened in ours. The heck? That's annoying. Why is there a... I probably ripped it without even realizing. But anyway... So people from here would forget, people from there would remember. But the AI would still retain the information. And to the point where it was like at a certain time it determined based on the data that it collected that it could recreate this. And so there was no like special trials or anything that they were doing. They were just like, we did it. They just decided that they did it, kind of like in a movie, you know? But they're missing details of how it works because the other reality was saying that we're not going to be able to achieve that for like a super long time because we were focused more on virus and AI stuff rather than dreams and consciousness stuff. So anyway, the people from here started to do it. But the mistake that happened was the AI, like, did not break the information down enough, or it didn't have enough information or something, to the point where people were getting dragged into other animals' bodies. So no, like, plants or fungus or algae or micro organisms as far as we know, because it wasn't like, oh, thousands of people were trying this. It was just like people that I interacted with in the dream. They were doing that, and I remember I was like, okay, let's do it, because I was also convinced that it was fine, because people said they already did it, but they didn't already do it. They lied, But luckily so we all jumped into the host bodies at the same time, like we all did that, and it was kind of like a Code Lyoko type deal, or like I was saying before, like Cortana Halo type deal, Master Chief Halo, Doom, whatever. And what was I trying to say? Getting off topic because I'm cutting my nails, trying to pay attention. Yeah, there was this specific, like, I still remember this moment very vividly, and it's kind of, like, frightening. It was 4 of us that went in there, okay? And when they were dragging us back, it would be immediate, it'd be into their bodies, the host original body, and it would feel natural and everything. But when we did it through the AI system on our own, from our dimension, we jumped into random bodies. So they were like, with their technology in the other dimension, they were able to like choose a human to do that. In ours, apparently we weren't able to choose it because we were trying to target the host people, so we could be like, here, look, we did it. Let's work together and try to learn consciousness and dreams and AI and virus stuff together. But what ended up happening, it was a frightening moment. So I immediately woke into that, into the body of a human, and it was a person that was surfing, okay, and they were coming back from the tide. The people near me, because we all went to a similar area, because the similar area with the host bodies from before, it was not targeted properly. It did not account for other animals, and so like I was in a random surfer person's body, and then next to me was a sea snake, a crab, and a what was the other one called? Some tiny type of fish that I can't think of the name of. And in the span of like 30 seconds, because I knew immediately that it was them, because for some reason we went in together, so I could like sense with like a 6th sense or a 7th sense, like that it was them, the people that went in with me. And the sea snake got eaten by something else. I can't remember, a shark or something. It'd be nice if I remembered it. But that one got eaten. And I know because they were each like jumping with me, as though, not jumping, but like going over the waves with me, the little waves, as I was trying to get back to shore because I was pretty far away. The crab got stolen by a bird, and then the fish got eaten by another fish. And it was so fast, and I could feel, like somehow viscerally feel that they disappeared and they were dead. And it was a horrific feeling. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe something similar to like depression and being and like scared and adrenaline combined. Something like that. And immediately the people in the other reality, we were in like the general area, okay? I got back, I didn't know, in that moment I knew who those people were, because while in that dimension I retained my previous memories, but when I came back to my dimension, the memories would be gone. So when I got there and I was the surfer person, I realized like those people were different animals, that I was a surfer person, not one of the scientific people from the dimension dream consciousness reality. And I ran to like I went over to their place where they do the transferring of the consciousness and stuff, and told them like what was happening, and they explained like why that was happening, and they told us like we would have taught you guys how to jump dimensions into a host body safely, but like, we told you that your technology is not advanced enough yet. And they're like, we're not as close to you, like you guys are with AI, but like our mechanical and, I don't know, scientific knowledge was just better in a different way in that other dimension. Not, and then, like, it was better in our dimension for other reasons too. But we were like, we would have helped you, because there's no harm in it. That'd be so cool, having another plane to go to, a different reality to go to. And oh yeah, let me make sure that I'm being clear. It's not like a higher dimension, like it's a 4th, 5th, 6th dimension. It's an alternate reality or an alternate plane of existence. That's what I've been trying to describe. And I'm like, okay, well, that's really messed up. And I'm like, luckily I'm still in this body. And they said, yeah, you're lucky too. And they're like, where are the other ones? And they said, I was just like, they're gone. They got eaten because they were in like these little animal bodies. And they like asked me how I knew that. And they're like, that is super interesting that you know that. And that, like, they wanted me to help there with their research and stuff. And I'm like, well, I would, but I'm going to forget all this stuff when I go back. And I only had an allotted time of like 30 minutes or something anyway, something really, really, really short. And so when I did get back, they're like, everybody's like, what is going on? What is going on? I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? Because I didn't retain any information. Sorry, I didn't retain any memories and stuff from the other dimension still. Just like before. And I'm like, I don't know. And they explained to me, and I was like understanding, because the only thing I could do was trust them, right? They were saying how like they were sent and they're gone now, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, how did I make it? Because I didn't remember. And it was all this crazy stuff, whatever. They explained that I can't remember every detail of, even though that dream was so insanely interesting. But they're like, so what ended up happening was they, at some point down the line, I don't know if it was a few years or right away or what it was, I can't remember, but the alternate dimension people were able to like learn a way to project into people's minds, kind of like a Star Wars little hologram, but into people's minds as like a 6th or 7th or 8th sense, where they could communicate directly with us the information. And over the course of a long time, because it ended up being like, I ended up being like a lot younger than people for some reason, that I knew as I got older, because of like something that happened with the dimensional thing with the technology from our reality going into theirs. And so I got to experience like that new sense, and we were able to go back and forth. But it was so sad, because like many people died because of it, and many people got stuck in alternate reality bodies, like as animals that couldn't even communicate at all. Like it could have been an ant, they could have been fish that got eaten, they could have been whatever. And so then I was like able to retain over time information from both. And so I was like constantly going back and forth, and whatever like type of energy or type of matter, whatever it was, because I don't know, it wasn't explained to me in the dream, whatever type of thing, substance or chemical or type of 5th or 6th type of matter or something, was like affecting my body in a way that was kind of like how Saiyans age, but they age like way slower, and they retain their youth for a very long time. It was pretty much exactly like that. That's probably like where my brain took that information from. when I was dreaming. And so it ended up being like very traumatic throughout. Like, I didn't wake up feeling traumatic, luckily, or traumatized, I mean, luckily, but it ended up feeling very traumatic throughout it. And I recognized the traumatic feelings when I was out of the dream. But my point is, during the dream was traumatic because there were so many attempts to, like, save these people or make it happen in our reality and stuff. But what ended up pretty much happening was, over time, was that people were able to start to remember things, and then, like, their memories would be gone for years and years and years and years at a time as they get older. But then they goodness gracious, this hole in the thing. Over time, man, so many people just got older and could not remember it, and they, like, had, like, lives. There are people that were there in other dimensions for lifetimes, like a Narnia type thing, or like that Pillow episode of Adventure Time, or like kind of like the SpongeBob time machine type of deal with Squidward, how he was technically gone for like a long amount of time. Extremely interesting dream. I should have forced myself to talk on the video like right when I woke up, so I apologize for it to being like all over the place, but I still think I'm explaining it decently well, and maybe I'll write things down about it and I'll remember some more. But yeah, it was like many attempts, like trying to save people, trying to go through, people like being like, okay, if we put on this headset thing, we might be able to use some sort of vibration across the realities to retain memories of both, and like people could have like two functioning consciousness in their mind, and people could have like technically three if they attached an AI synthetic consciousness to it. Man, it started to be like extremely convoluted, but not like tedious in my own brain to where I couldn't understand it. It was for some reason very understandable for me, and it just kept going and going and going in that. And how do I explain like the feeling of that? I don't know. Like I said, like depressing, scary, and like adrenaline at the same time, but not necessarily in like a bad way, kind of more like in like a leveled out kind of way. And it was so cool because there was no like bad blood, like bizarre stuff in there. It was all just for like, it was mainly like entertainment for people in the alternate reality, but also it was being used for people to be able to take breaks from their work and or like emotional hardship, and like the other person in a different reality would be able to like take on that hardship for them, and they get like a break. They could either just like stay in the consciousness with the other one, or they could take a break here, and then they want to do the same thing there. But over time, like we realized, at least throughout my dream, it was realized that it was just not going to happen the same way that they could do it there. But they were still dragging us. They had to like do that communication thing I was talking about, where they like show the information into somebody's sixth sense, or seventh sense or whatever. So we could tell, like, if they would ask, like, do you want to be dragged back into our reality? And obviously a lot of people would want to do it because it's interesting, but nobody would retain it. Everybody from that reality coming from there to here, then back, they remember everything. People coming from there to here, then dragging somebody from here back, then they come back from here, they would not remember it. The people from here would not remember it. So it would just be like like once in a lifetime experience, except it's not once in a lifetime. You could keep doing it forever. It's just it was not an experience that you ever got to keep or like remember ever again. And they tried to solve that remembering problem. Like I said, it was just never going to happen, but they tried to solve it by sending people like information dumps through whatever substance or matter or whatever chemical type of vibration, I don't remember, that they used to like beam that information. They tried to like share people's memories, but they didn't function. The memories for some reason did not function like the information that like an AI would have from our dimension, going there, taking the data back. It did not function like that. So people kind of like, it felt like kind of like a movie for them, not where they could see it, but they could sense it, like kind of like music or like a movie type deal, but they wouldn't resonate with it as though like they experienced it. Like you think a movie is cool, but it's not like you're experiencing it, you know? You can so it's just very, it was very weird, very sad, a ton of like very insane and bad attempts that just led to either nothing or to bad things happening, where people would end up being, like I said, in different like animal bodies and stuff, and no way to like save them. So it was very intense, but very cool. And trust me, I really tried to get myself to do it. It's so difficult. I'm sure people can relate on it. It's just difficult to get yourself to do things sometimes, especially when you have the stuff that I have going on. But I'm still recording it right now, and I'm still feeling good about what I was saying. I think I explained it pretty well. I probably over-explained a little bit. I'm sure if I wrote it down, I'd be a little bit more on track. But yeah, I mean, pretty cool, right? I think it's pretty sick. Like very, very vivid, interesting, cool.